Hello, welcome back to Not a Podcast, where I don't do a podcast because that's not what I do.
You're super cool.
Yeah, I'm too cool actually for a podcast. Very niche, very bespoke. My name is Celeste Mott. I'm a writer. I'm a witch. I teach people how to unlock their magic. I talk about unhinged weird shit on the internet, including vampire cults and astral projection and lucid dreaming. And sometimes I bring my cool occult friends on to talk to me about stuff. Because what else are you going to do rattling around in your house as a middle-aged person, other than call your friends up and ask if they want to talk about weird shit? So Robyn Valentine,
Hello.
aka atiredwitch, has been a witch, practicing witch and occultist and online professional witch and tarot reader for many, many, many years.
Which is crazy because I'm only 17. So
yeah, she's actually a fetus, but somehow she's come this far, which is truly amazing. I've known Robyn for, gosh, I don't even know, maybe since 2019, probably 2018, 2019.
2019 sounds about right.
So.
Yeah,
it's like coming on for like 10 years,
coming
which
on
is
a decade.
Crazy. That's kind of wild to think about.
Yeah.
And I have admired her work for a long time. She's an author. She's published several books and a deck, right? Got the deck.
Yeah, one of my books did come with the deck.
Yeah. Tell us in your own words a little bit about you before we dive into the trash talking.
Well, as Celeste said, I'm Robyn Valentine. I'm an author. I wrote Magickal Tarot. I wrote a children's book that's like an intro witchcraft book for kids that are like ages 8 to 12 called Apprentice Witch. I am a co-host of my own podcast called Coffee and Cauldrons, which is an award-winning podcast, not to jerk my own peanuts off or anything like that. And I've been an online creator of some form. I started off as a blogger. That's how long I've been doing this. Started off as a witchcraft blogger, and I think I first started putting my stuff out there in 2015 or 2016.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Well, I mean, we're talking about blogging, right? Blogging, that was bloggers' heyday, so it makes sense.
Were you Tumblring? Witchcraft
Tumbling?
I
did
was that a thing?
Tumblr witchcraft stuff, but I do not consider that blogging.
That's fair.
Not because it's not blogging. I did have a witchcraft Tumblr.
But you also had a blog.
Yeah, that predates any of this. My witchcraft Tumblr was like 2011. Because I'm young. Because I'm youthful.
You got to remember too that Robyn, like me, was molded by the Y2K indie sleaze era. So there are many amazing throwback pictures of Robyn wearing the twee outfits. We didn't call it twee. Oh, yeah. I have to be clear with the youngsters.
We were hipsters.
Not what it was. Yes, we were.
And we just absolutely hated being called that as well.
We did. No one was a hipster, but everyone was a hipster.
Both of our aesthetics were very much the hipster adaptation of goth culture.
So I think so too, and I think with a little scene.
Hipsters. We were
like a little scene mixed in, but like not all the way scene.
It was like it had a little goth scene flavor to our hipsterness. I don't know what that genre is called.
Tiger stripe hair, clip-in hair extensions. That was the thing I was doing for a while. So
I rocked the same bangs you have right now, the Betty Page bangs, but I had it with like a bob, and I had green and blue and pink and purple hair, and I was so hot.
Take us back.
I was so hot.
It was very funny when Robyn and I became friends, and we did, the thing you do when you become good friends with another woman, and you share pictures of your embarrassing past and anecdotes of your embarrassing past. And I was like, yeah, you and I definitely would have like gone to the same shows.
100%. We would have been at the Dungeon together, which is was RIP, a nightclub in San Francisco. We would have been there together for Thursday night goth night in our mini skirts.
Oh yeah,
and we would have been having a great time.
Lego haircut and a polka dot dress, not to do 100%. A throwback. Listen,
Peter Pan color.
Yes.
Okay,
but it back apparently.
Black dress
on the runway. All of that that sort of the Peter Pan call.
So what I was saying was 900 pairs of stockings, not a single pair of them without a rip, because A, we're balling on a budget. Okay, so we're not going to throw them out. It wasn't an attempt to like be grungy. It was because we were poor. And 2, because we get the 5 packs from CVS.
Hold on. I keep getting. So yeah, the fashion, the vibe, but this is the thing about being a I guess like we both kind of count as elders almost, which is weird to think about because I still internally feel like a 17-year-old who doesn't know what she's doing, but we are both technically older people now in the witchcraft space.
Speak for yourself. I'm 17.
How long have you been 17?
Don't worry about it.
Is this the skin of a killer, Bella?
It is. Bella, where you been, Loca?
Loca. So, but it's been interesting to watch the kind of witchcraft resurgence of 2020 when it sort of the witch talk boom happened, and then I feel like we're getting a second push now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like, so in my experience, having been both a witch and some form of like an internet content creator in the witchy sphere for a minute, I think the first time I ever was sincerely looking and posting about witchcraft was on LiveJournal. So what if I had a gun? I didn't say that. That was a joke. YouTube moderators. Anyway, so in my experience, it comes in waves about every 4-ish years, 4 or 5 years. There was a really big boom in like 2016, 2017 when we had like the Lisa Lister book come out. Harmony Nice was a thing. And a lot of people who are relatively new to witchcraft won't know who Harmony Nice is. But Harmony Nice was essentially, and I am paraphrasing here, don't quote me, but she was essentially the first big face of witchcraft that was from a content creation standpoint. Obviously, we have tons of huge faces when you look at like the literature world, especially, but when we're talking specifically about like blogging, content creation, YouTube, that sort of thing, Harmony Nice was like witchcraft's Jake Paul.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, she was huge. Like, she was like the first one of us to break over 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, she got a book deal that is not my favorite book. And I feel like I can't say anything else about that without being cruel. It's not my favorite book. It's not.
I feel like this actually, it segues us kind of into one of the things I wanted to talk about, which was, you know, there's been a lot of criticism since 2020. We had the kind of witch talk boom, right? And kind of everyone was doing it. We're all shut in our houses, pandemic. No one can go outside. So witchcraft took off. When we are in times of struggle, people will turn to the tools that they feel they have available to them. And witchcraft is a very accessible tool. It's, you know, you don't really need a lot of expensive stuff. You can have it if you like, but it's not necessary. So it's a tool that people turn to when they feel stressed, anxious, depressed, downtrodden, all of these things. And so, of course, COVID was boom for witchcraft. But I feel like now, looking back on that time and looking at the way that social media has changed in the last 6 years, and content creation in the spiritual space has changed in that time also, and then the rise of AI, which is doing crazy
and
stuff,
just spammers in general, scammers and spammers,
which we will definitely talk about that. But I sort of wonder, how can people tell, in your opinion, what should people look for if they're new to this space to discern whether or not a content creator, an author, a blogger, right, actually knows what they're talking about, vs being a kind of very surface level content creation machine? Because unfortunately, when things become a trend, we do see the dilution of good information, right? We see the kind of soundbite, clickbait version of things. Stuff gets mixed up into a giant game of telephone. We get, like, I saw something the other day that was like, oh, you can't ever work with Celestemoth because she will K-word your family. Like, if you ever
Whoa.
work with Celestemoth, she's going to take
Nobody
one
look
of your
at that.
family
Where do you
members.
see?
Like,
Nobody look at that.
don't look over here either. Or up
Don't
here.
look over here.
But, or, you know, the Moldavite thing. Like, oh, if you have a piece of Moldavite in your house, your life's going to
The
fall
Moldavite thing is
apart.
still so funny to me. I'm so sorry. Imagine thinking space glass is going to ruin your life.
I mean, I guess it might, but I feel like you would have to
Sure,
already be
but
on
like
a
there's got to be a lot more
trajectory.
nuance to it than that.
Yeah. So what's your
I
thought
bought a
in how,
Moldavite necklace and now my whole family's dead.
right, like how did that happen? Stop feeding them the Moldavite.
Okay.
Maybe that's the vibe. I don't know. Yeah.
My
So
two
how can you tell?
biggest
What's your discernment?
pieces of advice for spotting somebody who maybe not shouldn't be listened to, because I don't like telling people things as absolutes. But maybe that it should give you reason to pause for thought. The first one being they know everything.
Mhm.
Real witches in this space, real mentors, and real people who are gonna give you solid, sound, experienced advice are not afraid to tell you that they don't know things. And say, you know what, I actually don't know enough about this. However, I've been in this space long enough that you could ask this person, they might know.
Mhm.
Or even just pointing you in the solid direction of, I'm not the person to answer this.
Mhm.
There is so many things that I am fucking bad at. For example, I know you're going to be doing a course on dream interpretation stuff soon. I
Mhm.
couldn't interpret a dream to save my life. It's actually such a problem for me that in our mentorship Discord for our Patreon, I straight up refuse to engage in that part of it because I don't want to give bad advice. I
Mhm.
can give great advice about so many other things, but that is one that you should not ask me, because don't listen to
Mhm.
the advice I have on it. It's not good. I'm bad at it.
That's the thing. Like, not everybody can be an expert in everything, but unfortunately, we
Right.
see these people positioning themselves as essentially gurus. It's like guru culture, where someone will say, "Hey, I have all the answers," and not only will they say that they have all the answers, but then I think the big red flag for me is if they go the step further and they say, "And anyone who tells you anything different,
Is
don't talk,
wrong.
don't listen. They're wrong. I'm right about everything."
So that was the next thing I was going to say, was saying people are wrong in blanket statements. There is nuance to things where you can say, well, actually, this isn't correct because, like, for example, let's say that we take the ever so infamous Aleister Crowley, who has a really, really torrid history, and one that it creates reactions in people to this day. And there is a lot of valid reason for that. There also is reasons that are invalid because propaganda is a tool and it is still being used 150 years later, 130 years later. Does that mean that Crowley is someone that should go without criticism? Of course not.
Right.
But there are things that can be, that people will quote as an example of why Crowley is someone to not be listened to, and it's propaganda that you are still falling for a very long time later.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if we take that example, yes, we can use real, proper, cited source examples as to why maybe Crowley isn't the right person for something. But if the source is like blanket saying that Crowley was so bad you can't have anything to do with him, and the sources, the reasons they give are all propaganda based, then it gives me pause to thought of, okay, well, is this an educated opinion or are you just regurgitating propaganda? You can still
Right.
not like Aleister Crowley,
Totally.
but I do think we need to have these like actual educated, thoughtful conversations about these things.
Yeah, and I think that's, for me, been a sadness in my heart as I've witnessed the way the internet generally has gone in the past sort of 7 or 8 years, longer than that probably, but we've been in a sharp downswing, right?
Yeah.
because everything has become diluted and nuance is really kind of lost in all of these topics. I mean, the most recent thing that we've seen going around, this is a jewelry cleaner. I realize that looked like a condom wrapper. It's not. I just need to be
Wow,
clear about that.
boo.
Listen, okay? It's no.
Boring.
Sorry. So, but the eclipse stuff, right? I feel like every so often we'll get these things that pop up as trending topics in the witchcraft and spiritual space, and everybody makes videos on it, everybody talks about it, everyone writes posts about it and makes little carousel posts on Instagram. And it's because, of course, if you jump on the trending topic and you talk about it, your stuff's going to get seen. People like to do that. They like to rage bait. They like to post their like tiny little hot takes because that's what is going to get you paid, essentially.
Mhm.
However, what we then see is this real dilution of the nuanced fact of the matter. I've seen so many posts in the past couple of weeks because we're in the midst of eclipse season as we record this. The lunar eclipse is coming up on between the 27th and the 28th, depending on what time
And
zone
it wants
you're in.
us dead.
And it wants us to die. And that is not very nuanced of me, but it also might be true. But
I know. Can you the hypocrisy happening right now is crazy.
It's bad.
And
But
I'm 100% right about that. And anyone who says
yeah,
that I'm not, they're
is
wrong.
wrong and probably a bad person, and they should be canceled. But all of these takes about the eclipse that are saying like, you know, it's a polarized thing. Either people are saying absolutely don't do anything, don't leave your house, don't breathe, don't go outside, the eclipse is gonna unalive your family again, along
Close
with the
your
moldy
eyes,
white.
shut your mouth.
Right.
Don't have thoughts.
Or I've seen videos where people are like, well, it doesn't actually matter. And like, I'm a chaos witch, so I can do whatever I want during the
Oh
eclipse,
my
actually.
God. No, actually, can we talk about that? If we're talking about TikTok and all that, nothing peeves me more than people who say they're a chaos witch because they're behaving chaotically. Yes, the eclipse is a great example of that because there are so many different perspectives on the eclipse, but that is not what a chaos witch is. That's not what that is. Chaos magic is a very specific form of occultism that deals with treating magic as though it's the scientific theory and you are experimenting with it. That's what makes it chaotic. It's not tried and true. It is experimentations. It is not you just being chaotic and then making magic. That's crazy. I mean, that is being chaotic.
Yeah, if you're gonna call yourself, I think
Bear
this, you know,
would be rolling in his grave if he
I was
knew that
gonna
a bunch of 19-year-olds were being like, I'm a chaos witch because I put some paint in a jar.
I'm a little trash raccoon. I'm a raccoon witch.
Which, like, you can be chaotic. That is a form of energy to work with.
Totally.
100%. But specifically to keep calling yourself a chaos witch just because you're being chaotic is a bastardization of the entire practice.
This is the thing, right? It's like you don't have to adhere to a particular system. You don't have to pay attention to particular historic occultists or astrologers. You don't have to go read older texts. Like if you don't want to, that's fine. But I think it is important to know where these things that you're saying and these words that you're using are coming from. And like Robyn's exactly right. You know, if you are calling yourself a chaos magician or a chaos witch, like have you read Austin Osman Spare? Have you read Peter Carroll? Have you read Grant Morrison? Like these are sort
honestly,
of
even if you haven't read them,
names.
Do you know who they are?
Yes. Have you Googled even for 5 minutes?
At this point, because
ain't no one Googling anymore is the problem.
Yeah, our whole like grander community. Let's like, yes, I think you should read, but let's just like take a pause from taking that big of a step. Do you know who these people are? Let's just go that far. If you don't, then let's start there. Let's learn who these people are before we just start throwing away around terms.
And I think this is the thing to like bring it back to the eclipse. These videos that I was seeing again on both sides of this sort of polarization of the issue, either the people being like very fear-mongery and scare tacticy, like, oh God, don't do anything, don't drink water, don't go outside, or the people saying it doesn't matter, do whatever you want, embrace the chaos. Like, do you understand though what people have said historically about the eclipse? Because people who are saying eclipse energy is heavy. Eclipse energy is historically malefic. They're not pulling that out of nowhere. They're drawing
Right.
on texts like the Picatrix. They're drawing on ancient astrologers. They're drawing on, multi-system,
History.
writing, history and belief. We're
Just
talking,
multicultural worldwide history.
yeah. Yeah, eclipses were king topplers. It's when Rahu and Ketu, the head and the tail of the dragon, are devouring the moon and the sun. Like,
Yeah.
astrology is a metaphorical language, and in many ways tied to actual scientific movement.
Yeah.
And it, you can say, well, I don't do astrological magic. Well, that's fine, but if you're paying attention to the eclipse at all, you are doing
And you
astrological
are
magic.
doing astrological magic. Yes, you may not be doing like full-blown like planetary occultism, but you are practicing astrological magic. If you work with the moon at all,
Astrological magic.
you're doing astrological magic.
Mm-hmm.
The moon is a part of the like astrological houses. So
it's good to at least know, I think, like what people in the past have said, because if you're engaging in witchcraft, right, or if you're engaging in magic, and I think you and I are on the same page here. I love what you said about chaos magic as like a scientific experimentation kind of magic.
Right. Obviously I'm massively boiling it down, but
oh yeah, but it is though, really. That is part of what that path is. But I think all magic and witchcraft and occultism, you are standing on the shoulders of giants, right? To use that philosophy quote, you are here because of the work that was done before you got here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing yourself a disservice to not at least learn what other people have done before. Not because I think that's a really big, exactly what they did,
I think that's a really big problem in general with the current socio-political climate that doesn't just apply to witchcraft, but it very much so applies in our community, which is that because historically people have done bad things, and I'm not denying that. I think it's fair to say, again, I'm just going to use this example because it feels easy for the conversation, but not because I really give a fuck about this guy. But talking about Crowley, it goes without saying that he was kind of a shitty person. Again, simplifying it. But it is also a total ignorant miss to ignore the fact that modern day witchcraft in all of its forms has been heavily influenced and impacted by his work in the turn of the last century. And Wicca would not exist without Crowley, because Gardner was jealous of Crowley. That's like what that whole religion stemmed from. Again, I'm simplifying it. But
you're right though.
And if we don't have to appreciate these people as humans to acknowledge the impact that they've had in our modern day practice. It's just a simple fact.
Pointing even, you're totally right with Crowley, but pointing even to Wicca, the way that people will throw Wiccans under the bus and throw Wicca under the bus. And listen, I'm not a Wiccan. I don't practice Wicca. When I was a tiny little baby, first starting out on my path, that's what I considered myself, because that's what was available to me at the time, right?
Right.
But none of us would probably be here doing the things we're doing if it wasn't for Wicca, is the thing.
None of us would have a practice today if it wasn't for Wicca. That's a absolute fact as far as I'm concerned. It is so easy for us to be like, oh, Wiccan's this, Wiccan's that. Is Wicca, does it have its problems? 100%. Is a lot of those like conversation pieces that we have that are anti-Wicca stemming from like Charmed, the TV show? Yeah.
Right.
Also, yeah. Do we all think that Wiccans as a whole are represented by Gerald Gardner? Fucking no. That's why they have different sects than Wicca. That's why there is a Gardnerian sect who does believe that Gardner is 100%. That is their path. Like, guys.
Right.
It makes me really insane. Nuanced. And I think that it becomes this self-eating snake where you are trying so hard to not be problematic that you actually come back around full circle and you're being problematic. It's the horseshoe effect.
Yep. Yeah.
when you don't know anything about anything and then you lump an entire group of people together as one thing based purely on something you saw on a TikTok is fucking insane.
Yeah, vet everybody. Vet Robyn, vet me. You know,
Please vet me.
if you're watching our content, I tell my people all the time, and I know you do too, like in my Patreon, in videos that I make, I'm like, I don't know everything. I make mistakes.
Not only that, but I make mistakes. I'm wrong sometimes. And point it out to me with a source so I can do better next time. Like
so I can
not
learn.
only am I wrong, but I also am a very happy to be corrected so I can do better and learn better type of person. I have been corrected on many an occasion. There are a handful of things that I refuse to take criticism on. For example, I am somebody who is white passing, but I'm half Mexican and I have a heavily influenced Mexicana practice because of that. Am I like a bruja? No, because that's not what that word means. When we translate it exactly, that is not the path that I align myself with. It's very heavily influenced, but I refuse to take criticism on the fact that you perceive me a way that I am not.
Yes. Which I mean, I get that actually points us to another good sort of, I guess, critique maybe of like the online witchy space. And I think to some degree it's calmed down a little bit from where it was maybe even a couple of years ago. But there is a lot of jumping to conclusions when you see someone's content, you know.
I had somebody who tell me once that I needed to put in my bio how Mexican I was, so that way white people wouldn't tell me that I wasn't Mexican enough to do an ojo cleanse. I was like, well, first of all, that's not a closed practice, so let's start with that. Second of all, I'm literally Mexican.
Yeah, and you're not. No one is owed your ancestry DNA results. Like, that's an absolutely crazy thing to demand of someone.
First of all, brown paper bag testing. Let's start with that. Secondly, what in the fucking genealogy Nazi report are you talking about that I need to prove to you how much of something I am so you can decide whether or not you want to treat me a certain way? That's crazy.
And that's the part, actually. Let's get into it with the closed practice conversation, because I had like a slightly unhinged person in my comments a couple of months ago who, like, for weeks and weeks was just blowing up my comments. It was one isolated person, and they were not well, but they were blowing me up for a long, long time because they had become convinced that it was my responsibility to continually, not just one time, but continually address closed practices. They were like, you're not talking about it enough. You should be talking about it in all your videos about like what is and is not a closed practice and who can and cannot do things. And I kept saying, like, I hear you, but as a white lady, I actually don't think it's really for me to like be the arbiter of who can and cannot do things. Like, I mean, I'll talk about my thoughts on closed practices, certainly. I'll have a nuanced discussion with you, but I'm not going to sit here and say so and so shouldn't do XYZ. I am a white lady. Like, I'm going to leave.
I mean, even conversation. Like, when Mexican folk magic comes up, and people ask me questions about it, I will straight up say, I'm not the person to be asking about this. Right. Yes, my practice is influenced by like Mexican folk magic, but I am not a Mexican folk magician. I am not.
Yeah, that's not your main.
That's not my path. Let me point you to the people that you should be asking this to.
Yeah, Laura Davila, for example.
Fucking incredible human being. So smart.
We love Laura.
J. Allen Cross. Old Ways. What's his name?
Oh, I like Old Ways. Yeah, that person. I actually don't know his name.
I forget his actual name. I always just think of his username. But Old Ways. There's so many incredible creators out there who deal with all that stuff and deal with it from a like exclusive path focus that it's like, I'm not the person to be being the forefront of this.
I think the thing is too, right? Like, to go back to your person who said, like, demanded that you put your percentage Mexican heritage in your bio.
Fucking
like,
insane.
Very unhinged. To me anyway, right? it's not a question, or it shouldn't be, I think, a question of having a certain percentage of heritage to be allowed access to a tradition, because that really does take us down a road that goes startlingly toward a sort of eugenics, racial purity place, which is probably not a place we want to be in the spiritual community. And that's not to say that we
Well, it
shouldn't
depends on
gatekeep.
which
Wow,
spiritualist you're talking about.
that's true. But that's
There's
not to
a
say we
bunch
shouldn't.
of neo-Nazis in the pagan
Can we
community.
say that on YouTube?
I don't know.
Yahtzees.
Yahtzees.
But
Okay. Not Yahtzees.
It's not to say that we shouldn't gatekeep. I think that certain things should be gatekept. Absolutely. Like certain traditions
I 100%
should be
believe in gatekeeping. Sorry.
100%. But
I think we've
should
lost the meaning of what that word means. And as just like a definition reminder, gatekeeping does not mean that you should be treated badly, ignored, someone be rude to you. However, there are things that are kept behind gates because you have to earn, air quote, because this is a podcast, your right to that knowledge, because you need to have experience that comes before knowledge.
Yes. Which is why we have things like
you don't pick up witchcraft on day 1 and then you're doing like ritualistic blood magic on day 2. There's a gate there for a reason.
Yes. And that's why we have things like initiation by group. That's why we have working groups, covens, soteries, like other organized occult groups that can initiate you or bring you in. It's also why we have initiation by spirit, which I was curious, actually, if you have any thoughts on that. I get asked questions a lot about initiation. And I do have some initiations that I don't talk publicly about because, very unfortunately, oftentimes if you are initiated into things, you are not supposed to talk about them. So I have sort of certain things that I have gone through a formal process for, but I don't speak publicly about. However, a lot of my initiations, my initiatory witchcraft path, if you will, it was initiation by spirit. And I think like that's a controversial topic. People don't love talking about it, but I'm going to guess that you have had similar experience.
What could you mean by that? I have a lot of opinions. I'm going to start with the least controversial one, which is that initiation, I think, is an amazing tool for a lot of different reasons. Do I think that everyone needs to be initiated or should? No, I do not. I think that if we're talking about gatekeeping and information being taught to you at a process at which you will be the most beneficial to you, there are going to be things that you want to learn, and going through an initiatory hierarchical process, that A is going to be the only way you can do it safely and smartly. And B is going to have people who have experience in exactly what you're trying to learn, who want you to succeed. My second take on it, which is my mean take, which is that some initiations are just a bunch of dudes jerking themselves off about how important they are because they're fringe nobodies in their real life, and it's a way for them to finally assert control onto others. I just think that those guys are douchebags. I could start naming names, but this isn't my podcast, so I won't.
You and I both know.
We both know who I'm talking about, but it's not just him. I'm talking about all people that fall under that same category as the infamous cocaine user. Instead, I'm sorry, the infamous substack, I assaulted another woman user. He is just a good man doing his best in the world to abuse women and make it their fault.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway,
he's doing a bang up job.
Article on how this bitch did me wrong. But I digress. There are initiations and systems out there that unfortunately I think have good people in them. Yeah. But oftentimes get run by people who this is the only time they're important in their lives. and they're bullies, and they bully people, whether that is financial bullying. There are covens out there and groups out there who will ask for just absorbent amounts of money from you to climb their charts, whether it is bullying you by just being the traditional dick or taking advantage of you in other ways.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are orders out there that have long torrid histories of specifically abusing women. Without going into that too much. Then there's spirit initiation, which I also don't have a problem with. I think is great and fine. I, however, do have a problem with you being spirit initiated and then calling yourself a priestess. Priestess or priest. In my opinion, those terms are reserved for people in orders with a vetted community around them agreeing that this is the title they deserve.
Well, I think, both of those points that you just raised, which I agree with, it kind of intersects with something that, of course, is very near and dear to my heart, which is how easy it is for some of these things to become cult-like and abusive. And I think in both cases that you just mentioned, that can happen. In the case of initiatory groups, covens, orders, things like that, very unfortunately, if you have the wrong kinds of people at the helm, and I would argue that it's very easy for power to go to people's heads in that situation. I'm by no means saying that every group that you come across is this way.
No, not at all. It actually goes so far as to argue that most are not this way.
Most are not.
However,
yeah, but
I would argue that most are not this way. But when they are bad, whew, are they bad?
They're bad. They're bad. And then you're two in, and it's not only the financial risk or the potential risk to your sort of your bodily autonomy and things like that, which is obviously horrifying, but there's a very real spiritual risk if you get involved in the wrong order, because if you are someone who believes that magic is real, Robyn and I believe that magic is real, you may not. If so, I wonder why you've gotten this far through this podcast. However, if you believe that magic is real, you must also believe that these groups of people that are working with spirits, right? They're working with heavy energy, big energy. I mean, work that you do as a group is necessarily going to be a magnitude more strong and powerful, perhaps, than work that a solo practitioner is doing on their own, because you just have more bodies and more energy and more consciousness stirring it all up. The spiritual abuse that can happen under those situations. I know of orders and groups that feed lower underlings, new initiates, to the spirits, because the spirits are kind of calling the shots, but then you have, your high priest or whatever at the very top who's scraping the money and the attention and the time and the using everybody else's battery. And it's so much more common, unfortunately, than you would think. So vetting the groups that you join, super, super, super important. Vetting any practitioner that you work with. If you're working with someone for spell work, if you're getting a reading, even, like, just start early practicing that discernment. But to your second point of people who say, oh, I'm a priestess or whatever, and they put like priestess or goddess or priest or whatever in their bio, and you perhaps ask for their credentials and they don't have any. That's also a red flag.
That's a huge fucking red flag.
Yeah.
Huge.
Because
and you know what else? This is just like on topic but off topic. They're always priestesses of like Egyptian gods.
Very frequently.
No, the fuck you're not. Like, shut up. It's just like the people who are like from like, they're like, I've been reincarnated. They're always fucking Cleopatra.
Always. And it's always. Never like I was like a guy who brought the beer out when the other people were building the pyramids. It's never that guy. It's
never
always,
that guy. It's always Cleopatra. It's like, oh wow, Cleopatra sure is in a lot of people.
She's around.
Her spirit sure did fraction off into 1 billion fucking little pieces.
It's that, or it's like a lot of and to be fair, I at one point in my long involved online career, I did have the word Pythia in my bio because I have a sort of energetic resonance with ancient Greece. But a lot of people also want to claim that like Delphic a priestess of Apollo stuff as
Mhm.
well. That's the other thing that I see pop up a lot. It's the Egyptian stuff, and then it's the ancient Greek stuff. And Norse stuff more recently, which like that might be happening for not good reasons, you know. Not to say that all Norse practitioners are a certain way, but unfortunately there are
Yeah,
not great
it
things that infiltrate
there
that
it's
space.
again kind of like the talking about the orders. Most orders are totally fine, covens, etc., but the ones that aren't are like really fucking
Are
not.
really not
It's the
fine.
same thing with Norse groups.
Yep.
Most Norse practitioners are totally fine,
They're totally
but the
chill.
ones that aren't are like so bad.
They're
Like,
exceptionally not fine.
they're
And I mean,
exceptionally not fine.
the good news, I guess, for anyone watching this who's like, oh God, well, I wanted to join an initiatory group and now I'm scared, you know, the good news is that a
I'm
lot of
starting a
these,
cult.
I'm going to start a cult and mine will be fine and good. And I'm always right. And everybody else is always wrong. So that's how you know. But Robyn's going to join. She's going to be the high priestess of the cult.
Yeah, obviously.
But the thing is, most of these groups that are really like not good, you ask a couple questions, you're going to get people talking. It's very rarely is it like really deep buried underground, like you're not going to find out until you're way too deep in. If you ask the right questions, if you do a little bit of discernment, you will probably learn before you get in too deep. So it's just a question of like having that discernment, I think. And as we said earlier, anything that you're absorbing on the internet, really, just taking 10 minutes and doing some cross-referencing, you know? At the end of the day, it might not turn out that the thing that you just absorbed on TikTok or Instagram is like wrong, quote unquote, but maybe by doing a little bit of extra research, you get some additional context. Maybe you get some alternate opinions on the thing. The eclipse is a great example. You know, you're going to find some people saying it's terrible, it's malefic, it's don't do anything. And then you're going to find people saying, hey, maybe you can do magic on the eclipse, which to that point, what do you think? Are you
About
doing
the
magic on the eclipse?
I
What are your
have
thoughts on doing it?
historically done magic on the eclipse.
Hmm?
The eclipse, I think you can work with it, but I think you can work with it with the understanding that while it is very powerful because we are consuming every single phase of the moon in one night, right? Or the sun, depending on which eclipse we're talking about in that particular moment, because it doesn't have its time to cycle. It's also very unpredictable. So it's very, very strong, but you have to kind of go into it with the roll of the dice that if it doesn't go wrong, that strength can go very, very, very wrong.
Yeah.
So I have used it in the past, but I've used it in the past specifically because I was desperate.
Yeah. Yep.
I was
And
desperate in those moments.
if you are desperate and you want to turbocharge the energy a little bit and you're kind of at your wit's end, you're like, I
Where I
gotta get,
felt like rolling the dice was worth it. And I've had good
yeah,
success with it, and I've had really bad lack of success with it.
yep,
So, but I knew that going into both of them, that while if it went well, it was going to go really well, but if it went bad, it was going to go really bad. So,
yep, yep. The ancients would say, you know, that's a bit of a nebulous term, but like texts like the Picatrix, Ptolemy, astrologers like that, would say that the eclipse is a reasonable time to roll the dice on things like banishings, bindings, cleansing.
mhm,
If you are potentially trying to, I don't know, topple a tyrant,
mhm. I would
this would be a
not.
good time.
I would not do health. I would
Huh.
not do love. I would
Oh,
not do just
money.
relationships in
What
general.
would not do money? Probably.
I
That's
would
maybe
definitely
not your
not do
best.
money.
Mm.
This would also not be the time that I would like. This is kind of indirectly money, but like buying a lotto ticket.
Yeah.
um,
Taking any big risk. That's what, like, I was making some content the other day about this, but like I keep telling myself, because I feel like a lot of us right now are becoming little mini microcosms of the macrocosm. Like those of us who are
right.
energetic sensitive are becoming lightning rods for that eclipse energy. And my body, and this might also be perimenopause in fairness, but my body is like, do something crazy. Like I've just been vibrating out of my own skin for the past 2 weeks, be it like I can't sleep. I'm having like a lot of like creative agitation and it kind of feels good. It's almost like kind of mania a little bit. And so
That's crazy.
I
Have you
want
talked to someone about that?
listen, we have a therapist,
Good, good.
and a hormone doctor, but
Good.
yeah, but you know, it's this the way the energy is metabolizing, and of course there are other reasons that this could be happening, but I have heard this from a lot of people this eclipse season. Just wanting to do stuff, like just wanting to kind of like see the world burn a little bit and being like ready to roll the dice. And what I keep telling myself and other people is maybe we just hold off. Maybe we just take some breaths, do some nervous system regulation. I was scrolling, I have to tell the story. I was scrolling my feed the other day, as I do because I'm chronically online, and I came across a video from I wish I could remember this lady's account, but it's a video of a woman who does basically nervous system regulation and stuff like that, kind of like a new agey type therapy page. And she had done this 60-second meditation, and it was just the isolated chorale vocals of the chorus of Feeling It by Blink-182. So there's no backing music. It's just the 5-6 part harmony. And the text on the thing is just like, just lengthen your exhales while you listen to this. And so I stopped because it's like beautiful sounding. Anytime you have close harmony stuff, that's why Gregorian
that song
so
too
hard.
is like such a such a calling card to millennials, right?
Right. And so like I just turned 40. I'm fucking listening to this. I wasn't even really a big Blink-182 fan, to be honest with you, but like I stopped in my feed and I'm listening, and I saw you liked it. And I started doing the exhales. I was like, I'm a little stressed. Let me do this actually. And I listened to it about 6 times, and then I just started sobbing. Like my vagus nerve got activated. My nerve, and it just like tears. And I'm not really a crier. And I was like, oh my God, I'm releasing all of this. And then right before we got on the recording, I was like, sorry, Robyn, I'm coming. I'm just recording my own 6-part harmony recording of Feeling It by Blink-182 in Audacity.
I love that that's the kinds of things that pop up on my phone.
I know, it's so good.
All of my friends are so fucking deranged, and I say that with peace and love in my heart, because same. But all my friends are so deranged, and every time I open up my phone, I just like I never know what I'm gonna get, and I'm so happy about that.
It's such a blessing.
Imagine having like a normal life. Like, okay, no. you were on Chad's podcast recently, right? Okay, so Chad's my neighbor. He literally lives like half a mile from my house. Our kids play together. I love Chad. I sent
Robyn's
Chad
talking about Chad Andrew of the Radical Elle Fame podcast, which is very, very good. Carry on.
Very, very good. He's wonderful. His wife's wonderful. His kids are wonderful. I love them very much. Chad had posted something, and I don't want to misquote him, so I'm going to just be paraphrasing here, but something, I don't know if he had a guest on or if it was like just the topic of the podcast about Jesus being a fairy. And I actually planned to listen to it. I haven't listened to it yet, but it triggered a thought for me that I texted him, where I was like, I have a theory that I'm working on about ghosts. And embalming. And I sent him this whole, do you want me to tell you the theory?
Yeah, tell us.
I probably am not the first person to think of this, so I don't want to like act like I came up with this and I'm the first person, but maybe I did. I don't know. But it was a thought I had actually while in a spirit session. Okay, every ghost that we see, not every ghost, but most of them, only go back as far as the Victorian period. Right? You don't see like cavemen ghosts or anything like that. That's
true.
And the big theory for that is because energy only lasts so long before it gets reabsorbed, blah, blah, blah. But I have an alternative theory. Embalming was invented during the Victorian period. And back in those days, they were literally just pumping people full of shit and being like, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
To the point that they were like putting people in cement because they thought that the gases were like toxic. And so there's like bodies out there that are buried in like liquid cement that they just poured them into intentionally. So surprisingly, that did not take off. Anyway, so I have this theory that because of how early embalming especially started, where they were like the people died and they were getting like, even now when they die, if you go the embalming route, that starts within 48 hours typically of your body, you know, deceasing, terminating. And you get put in a cooler and then they get to you and they start the embalming process. Back then, because they didn't have things like coolers, etc., they were like starting the embalming process like on the battlefield. Literally. They were literally like embalming people on the battlefield. So my question becomes, because, and I don't know what your experience is with spirits, this is my experience. Again, for those who are listening, I'm not saying this in an absolute, this is my experience, but spirits have like this window of like a week where they're like here or they're not here, unless they like fully are aware of the fact that they died, they made peace with that, and they move on really quickly. Like my grandmother, when she passed, I saw her for a blink, and I mean literally a blink, the day that she died, and I've never nary a twinkle about her since. And I'm convinced because she was so at peace with what was happening and that she knew was going to happen and she was at peace, etc. However, not everybody has that experience, especially when there's traumatic death involved, like early embalming, right? The decomposition process never gets to start, which if you're a spirit trying to leave a body and you see yourself starting to rot, that's a way to help the spirit move along. If the body is not rotting and you have a spirit who already is in this limbo period of confusion, is that potentially why we see more ghosts starting from that period?
That's fascinating, dude.
So anyway, really... I texted Chad this. I sent him a text and I was like, imagine being like normal and that's the text that you get from your neighbor.
Perfect. We have the best lives. Become a witch, everybody. Become a weird, unhinged, spooky content creator. My DMs every day are
they're insane,
a blessing,
right?
And a curse, to be honest.
They're
like
insane.
it's not always good, but it's entertaining always. I will say that. Almost always. Sometimes it's a little scary.
Sometimes it's a little scary.
Please don't send me scary stuff. I mean, you can be like ghost scary. Just don't send me like parasocial scary stuff.
Don't send pictures of your penis.
Please don't do that. No.
Please don't do that.
No. In 99.9999999% of cases, I don't want to see that.
That 0.001 though means there is a shot.
Someone will think because that's how
means
it
that
goes.
There's a chance.
Oh,
she's gonna let it slide for you.
I was gonna ask you, because I don't want to keep you all night, but
you can't. My kids are asleep. You can stay up as late as you want, little mama.
Sleepover hours. It's just like being back at the dungeon in 2007. Where's our Peter Pan? Call our bitch.
Oh my god, literally.
Listen, I have to.
Where's my super high puffed out bun?
Yep. I put in the indie sleaze playlists on. I'm just like fully going back to my youth at the moment. Can you tell us about a time where you either placed a curse that was highly effective or were the target of a curse? Because people have been asking me a lot of curse-based questions. And I'm curious if you have stories that you're comfortable sharing. You may not.
Well, first of all, I taught a whole course on baneful magic. Not a course, I taught a class. So it's a single class. It is on my Patreon. Curses are kind of, not curses, but hexes specifically are kind of my specialty, which is so fucked up. But I think that's because I have a lot of anger inside of me and I wasn't hugged enough as a child. I don't know.
Hug your children or they'll become dark magicians. Evil,
dark wizards. I will become a dark wizard on the internet.
Yeah,
I will curse your bloodline. I've never been committed enough to hate anyone to curse them. And I've got a lot of hate in my body, but I do hex kind of whenever I feel like it.
how are you differentiating between a curse and a hex?
How I'm differentiating
Mm-hmm.
is, for me, a hex is an ongoing thing that I keep feeding, like kind of like a money bowl.
Mm.
So I continue to give that energy and to continue to ruin their life in a long, prolonged sense.
Wow.
Where a hex for me is a one-off situation. So,
Oh
like, for
yeah.
example, there was that time that that thing happened that we joined forces on.
Oh
That
yeah.
was a hex to me. Because I was looking for a very specific style of outcome, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we got it.
Yeah.
I feel like we got it for the most part. So I was looking for a specific outcome. It was a singular thing. It wasn't an inconvenience like a jinx.
Yeah, it was like a slightly heavier outcome, but it was not something anyone was going to commit to
Yeah, I'm not
keeping up.
invested enough to like keep
Yeah.
feeding that shit. I'm invested enough to be like, haha, bitch.
Bam. Yeah.
And yeah. I think my most successful hex. Oh,
I know which
I'm
I
trying to,
know what it
you
was,
know
but I
which
don't
one I'm
think you
thinking
can talk
of.
about
I'm
it.
wondering if I can talk about it on
I don't
YouTube.
think you can talk about that.
Something
I always tell
happened
people, yeah,
to
yeah, see
someone
if
I care
tell
about,
yes.
and it really upset me, as it would anyone. And
It would
so
anybody.
I turned that around on that person. And legally, that's all I can say about that. But they're still alive. So I didn't kill anyone, just for the
Yeah.
record, to go on record.
They dealt with some not very nice things
They
as a
continued to deal
result.
with some very not nice things. And it was kind of like a domino effect. And I think that's hilarious. And we can talk about that off air.
Mm-hmm. I always tell people the story that I told on the Horrible podcast about my, like, because both Robyn and I would imagine, I don't know if you do hex work for hire. I definitely do. If you want
I
somebody
totally
to
do.
be,
Yeah.
yeah, you can contact either of
I
us. We will
do
do that.
though, and I don't know if you do this, I assume you do, but I do explain to people like the repercussion potentials.
Yeah.
And it's not like in a biblical sense, it's just things cost energy, and are
Yeah.
you willing to potentially have some of that come your way? Now, the reason you're paying me is so that way I, in
I
theory, am the
absorb
one
it.
absorbing it, not
Mm-hmm.
you. But there's always that slim chance. Little
But
things, and
just
you
so
should just
you
be aware of
know,
it.
and I think both of us do this too, but like, just to be clear, if anyone's watching this, they're like, oh, we got to pay the witches to hex someone. I do not take on every client that comes my way.
No,
I
me
do
either.
divinations. I talk to you first. You have to go through an intake session
100%.
because
100%. You have
again,
to pay for a reading from me before
mm-hmm,
we can about this, before
mm-hmm,
we can even engage in any spell work, not just hex work,
same.
any spell work. Because one, I might not be the person for you. And you have to be willing to allow me to do my process if you want to have a workings from me.
Mm-hmm,
And part of my process is a reading.
mm-hmm.
Simultaneously, I think I can speak for both of us on this one. The Etsy witches that curse Charlie Kirk or whatever. First of all, I think that was just a internet clickbait article that was not
Yeah.
real. But simultaneously, I'm not going to entertain any emails that are even remotely talking about
Mm-hmm,
that, talking in conjunction with that, asking for something similar, etc.
mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm.
not ethical. It's not funny.
No, exactly. And also, like, oftentimes out of scope too. People have to understand that when they're asking for things, I mean, it goes back to your point about hexes and jinxes via, say, a curse. Something that if you want, magic is on a spectrum. And if you
Mhm.
want any kind of outcome, whether it's a negative outcome or a positive outcome, you want to, say, become a billionaire. You want the big outcome, whatever it might be, good or bad. You're going to have to commit to a process, like a one
Yes.
and done working,
And nothing is instant.
a single candle. Like,
It's
it's
just
not going to get you
not.
there.
Nothing is done. You need to
Mm-mm.
have real world application. So, for example, if you come to me for a love reading, I'm sorry, a love spell, and you really want to have that ex-boyfriend back. Let's just say
Mm-hmm.
that feels like a very common request. You want
Constant.
your ex to come back to you. You have to do real world things to, like, if you completely refuse to like see him, talk to him, anything to kind of mend the bridge, right? He's not going to just this isn't the movies. He's not going to show up in your door and say, Celeste, I
With
was
a
wrong
boombox.
all along.
If it's
like
any of my ex-boyfriends, please don't do that. Like, just to be very clear, if we have ever dated in the past, any of you, if you are watching this, and I know some of you are, stay far away from my house with that boombox. I'm not interested in that. Thank you.
I'm learning a lot. So what you're saying is you want me to show up at your house because I consider. Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah, that's different. That's different.
But you have to put the real world application in. Magic is it's a key to open a door, but if you never walk through the door, you've just opened a door. Congratulations, there's a breeze.
Woo! I was just talking to another practitioner about this the other day, like a new practitioner friend. She had posted on her close friend stories a little bit of a rant about this because, again, like you said, it's a very common question. And to be clear, I have no smoke for my clients who come to me and they say, my heart is broken. I want my ex back. They've left. Like, I get it. And sometimes it is the case that the relationship ended prematurely, or there is a bridge that can be built and they are, I don't think anyone, to be honest, is like your person and the only person out there for you, but maybe they are a person that you should be able to get a second chance with. But yes, any situation with magic, if you are not willing to do some mundane effort, if you are not willing to sort of invest in yourself, and I think this is going to be perhaps a hot take, a controversial take. I want to hear Robyn's thoughts on it though. But with love magic particularly, what are you bringing to the table? And when you get what you want, when the practitioner you hire does their job and they open that door for you and they get that person to text you back, or they bring your perfect ideal man or woman or they them into your life, what are you going to do then? Because the number of clients that I have had who I deliver the goods and then they fuck it up because they can't handle their own shit. And look, again, I know this because I have done it myself, okay? I have screwed things up for myself because we all have patterns that we replay and we all have trauma that gets triggered. We all have behaviors that we should probably work on. But you gotta, because when you get what you want, whether it's the new job, the new spouse, the ex-husband back, whatever, if you fall back into the patterns that were sabotaging you in the first place, congratulations, you're going to be back in my DMs in 6 months being like, he broke up with me again. I lost my job. Like, yeah, because you didn't work on yourself. And that's not my fault.
I had somebody hire me once. This was like 8 years ago, so I do feel comfortable talking about it. Big one for me, and I'm sure it's the same for you. I do have a pretty strict non-disclosure agreement. Yes. But it has been a very, very, very long time since this happened. I had a client who basically had a superior at their job who was just awful. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. They wanted the superior to be gone. We did a bunch of workings on it. Superior gets fired, right? Then she's upset that she wasn't immediately asked to be the replacement. And I said, but that's not what you asked for. You asked for us to get rid of the superior. We got rid of the superior. And we did that. And then I was the asshole because she didn't get the promotion. And I am like, you wanted the boss gone. You didn't get the promotion because you suck at your job. But I did my job, which was get your boss fired.
If you had wanted the promotion also, you should have told me that.
You should have told me that. And we could have worked on that potentially. But you didn't say that. You said you wanted the boss fired. I got the boss fired.
Yeah. Which I think also goes back.
You not getting the kudos you felt you deserved has nothing to fucking do with this.
No. And I think it goes back to, if I had one tip for people who are going to maybe hire a witch, hire a occultist, hire a practitioner to do work for them, because it's becoming more and more common and people are going to Etsy and other outlets to get their stuff done. be sure of what you want. Sit with yourself and really think, what do I actually want? Because this is especially true in love magic. The number of love drawing spells I've done, not bring an ex back, but like, what kind of person do you want to be with? The number of times people fail to really think that through. And they fail to really think, should I want, not what did my mom tell me I should want, not, you know, you don't have to be realistic. I'm not saying that, but like really do some deep inventory. What is really going to fulfill you? What is really going to excite you? What is really going to add to your life instead of just regurgitating the trauma
And
that you've been repeating?
how many people want to get back with their ex-boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, and that partner left them for someone else or cheated or was just kind of shitty and horrible and then left in the first place? Do you really want to get back together with this person?
I have so many
They
clients, and
don't respect
I'm not gonna be specific because this, very unfortunately, it does apply to a wide swathe of clients over the years that I've had.
Sure, mine too.
But a lot of clients will come to me and they'll ask to get back together with an ex, and the ex will have very severe addiction issues. And they'll say,
That
"Oh,
is such a common thing.
I really want to get back with this
A
person."
really common thing, which is very interesting to me.
And oftentimes I successfully do that work, and the person with the addiction issues comes back, and it becomes this cyclical on again, off again, very dramatic, very high stress, relationship. And invariably they're like, well, I don't understand why this isn't working. And I'm like, because they have addiction issues. And I, as someone who has addiction issues but is sober, that's not me pointing the finger at addicts and saying that they're not good people. But I'm saying, like, if you are,
I think when you're in the throes of active addiction, your judgment making is not at its prime.
It's not great. And you're possibly not going to be able to be a steady, stable partner to somebody. But very rarely do those clients come to me and say, how can we do healing work for the object of my affection? Some of them do, but mostly they don't. Mostly they're just like, I just want him back. And I don't care how crazy he is and how like many cars he's crashed and how many times he's been in jail. And I'm just like, okay, one wish willow yourself into that situation then, I guess.
Yeah, although One Wish Willow is of course a movie or Obsession.
Yeah.
Is of course a movie. I do think there's a really heavy lesson to be learned. And I saw I talked about this on like season 1 of my podcast, and I don't even remember what it's from. I just remember the line, which is, you can't start a marriage with a kidnapping. And that is so accurate. And it's not to say that love magic is invalid or we shouldn't be doing it, or come to me spells are not good, or any of that. I think that there is fully a very real, very prolific and powerful time and place for these things, as long as we have a full scope understanding of why we're doing it, who we're doing it with, and the potential repercussions.
And on that note, if you want to learn, I don't know if you have a love magic class. I do. You can go to my website, Love Magic 101. It's an ethical love magic class. It's not going to teach you how to one wish willow yourself into an obsession situation, because no one wants that. But it is going to teach you some methodology and some tools that can get you what you want in a way that's not going to forcibly break another person's free will. Because, we won't get into the whole moral nitty gritty of that because we would be here a long time and my thoughts are nuanced. But I will say, I told the story on a live the other day. I did some compulsory love magic when I was a much, much younger person, when I was a baby witch, when I was a beginner. And I made a very, very heavy duty pact with a spirit that Robyn and I both work with, which was perhaps the most foolish mistake I've ever made in my life.
Interesting. I'm learning hey, girl, a lot right now.
Bring my ex back to me. And it worked.
And how quickly did you have to get a restraining order on that ex, just for curiosity?
Actually, I didn't have to get a restraining order. I'll tell the story in its shortened form. But it did work. But it worked in such a way as we got back together about a month after we had broken up on my birthday at the goth club, where I ran into him, and he was extremely high on a substance and tripping balls. So he was not in his right mind. And we had a kind of weird, awkward run in. And then I left because I was like, my birthday has gone weird. And I'm not really having the best time. So I drove home. And on my way home, I got a text from my ex's friends saying, can you come back in your car and pick us up? Damien, because of course his name was Damien, because I am a goth girl in the Y2K era. The friend was like, Damien is freaking out on this substance. He's having a really bad time. Like, we can't get home. No one drove except for me, of course. They were like, can you come get us? And can we crash at your house? Which is something that we would do all the time when I was still dating Damien. And I'm an idiot. And also in the back of my head, I said yes. And also in the back of my head, I'm like, this is the magic working, which it was. Okay, that's the door opening. And I'm going to walk through the door. I asked for it. So
you said, I asked for this, and I went,
I go back and I go back to the goth club. I pick up Damien and his friend. Damien is like not on planet Earth at that point. Like, it was absolutely like, I'm driving. He's having a panic attack in the back seat. His friend's trying to calm him down. We get to my house. The friend goes to sleep in my spare room. I assume Damien's just going to sleep on my couch because, like, he's not in his right mind.
And he's out of his gourd.
He's my ex. I go to bed. He comes into my room and he's like, I'm panicking. Can I stay in here with you? And I'm like, the magic is working. The magic is working. I'm so excited. So he spends the next 6 hours coming down off the substance and telling me that he has made a grave error and he's so in love with me. And, you know, what a stupid mistake it was to break up with me.
So you got witchcraft and pharmaceuticals.
And a pharmaceutical, I think it was LSD. I can't remember, though, to be honest. It could have been a few things.
So you have hallucinogens and magic, and you went, this is perfect.
I was 22 years old, so...
Oh, you were such an angel, little baby.
So, you know, he's telling me he's in love with me. I'm sitting there, and I'm truly like, whoa, holy cow. Like, magic is so real. This is incredible. And the honeymoon period for this resurgence of the relationship lasts for about 2 weeks. And then he starts acting weird. And it turns out, I learned through I can't remember how I figured this out, but it turns out that he is still seeing his other ex. So he was dating us both at the same time. Me and this little goth girl who had a face like a pit bull. Her name was Kitty. And
that's ironic.
Yeah, she had green and black dreadfalls because it was the era of that, you know, and she looked a little bit like a pug. It's fine. So anyway, she and I somehow managed to connect the dots on this one. We had a clandestine meeting at a Fast Eddie's, which is basically the Australian, like, Denny's. So we're at Denny's, essentially, in the middle of the night, over pancakes, comparing notes. And we're showing each other our phones, you know, and he's sending the exact same pictures, the exact same text, word for word, to both of us. It was completely unhinged. She is very upset. Weirdly, I was not upset.
This sounds like another scenario you were in.
Yeah, a few of it keeps happening to me. It's my karma. I don't know. I have brilliant taste, just so you know. So
I love that.
But the funny thing is, I wasn't upset. I mean, I was kind of like incensed, but I wasn't like sad. And I think I wasn't sad because after getting back together with him, I was like, oh, this man is a disaster and I have made an error. So
yeah.
She was devastated. I was not. But we then concocted this unhinged plan to confront him about his, like, two-timing, cheating ways by locking her in my bedroom and inviting him to my house and then springing her on him.
I love this. I wish I'd been there.
Locking all the doors to my house so he couldn't leave. So a marriage truly does not stop with kidnapping.
So just so me and the audience are fully on board with understanding this. Just clarify for me. I'm going to paraphrase. You tell me if I'm right. Okay. Boyfriend breaks up with you. You're like, ooh, witchcraft.
Yes.
You see him and he's on drugs for 2 weeks. You're in bliss because while he's coming down from drugs, he was like, turns out I'm in love with you. And you went, perfect.
I did.
And then for 2 weeks you were in bliss only to find out that he's still seeing the other ex-girlfriend. So you kidnap him. No, you don't kidnap him. You lure him in with false pretense and then you do not allow him to leave.
Yeah, that's right.
I love this. I love this for you.
As
this
you
is
can imagine,
so good.
It didn't go well. Okay. So like the
for sure.
plan,
And
the
just
plan
again,
worked.
for the audience sake, this is about 2009, 2008. So the
Yeah, it would've been
statute of limitations
2009.
has passed. Just so we're all clear.
It was 2009.
Just
So
want
it
to
did work. I
clear
mean,
that
we did our To Catch a Predator moment on him, our Chris Hansen
I
moment.
fucking love that. And then you were like, and now you can't leave because you're gonna listen
and
to
now
us
you can't leave
beat
because I locked
poetry
you
at you
in my house.
about.
But so he's sitting
Love it.
opposite. We're on one couch. He's on
Ooh,
the other.
yes. Powerful.
We're facing off. It was a power move. I felt very powerful. I was like,
You
me and
should
Kitty,
have.
man.
That's a very,
Kitty and
especially
I,
knowing that you're like 22. That's very powerful.
I felt such a sisterhood with this woman. I was like, you know what? We have triumphed over the oppression of man. I was feeling really good.
Fuck the patriarchy.
Guess how this ends? Not well for me. We're asking him questions. Kitty is crying and breaking down. I am like
Obviously.
dissociated. But we're just like, why did you do this? Like, just help us understand your thought process. And he's a 22-year-old man, so he has no thoughts in his head. He
thinks penis.
Yeah, he's not saying anything. He's just like, I don't know. And eventually, after about 45 minutes of this getting nowhere with the line of questioning, Kitty is like, I need a cigarette. Damien, do you want to go outside and smoke a cigarette? And he was like, sure. So they go outside on my porch to smoke a cigarette.
They fuck on the porch, don't they?
They do not, to my knowledge, fuck on the porch. But I would imagine they did make out on the porch. Anyway, they were there for a while, and I was texting my friends being like, this is not, I think, going how I hoped. And my friends were like, yeah, you're a moron. This was never going to go how you hoped. Anyway, they come back in from the porch, and Kitty's like, oh, it's really late. I think I'm going to drive Damien home. And I was like,
you guys are going to fuck.
Word. Okay. She was like, yeah. I was like, are you sure? Because like, I also have a car and I could drive you home. And she's like, no, I'm good, fam. And I was like,
You're going to blink this guy.
They leave together. At that point, all my feelings release and I'm like, oh no. Oh no. And I am very upset at this point. And
obviously
I'm on MSN Messenger talking to my friends,
fucking
telling
throwback.
them how traumatized I am by all of this that I did to myself. And magic, I am sure, is amplifying it. And
of course.
I said some things about how bad I felt. And so my friend called a wellness check and sent the police to my house.
That's crazy.
And the police turned up
for
a wellness check on my ass because I was very upset and distressed about my breakup. And I was wearing a nightgown.
This is this is like listen, the Australian police showing up to your house for a wellness check is so crazy to me.
Well, the best part about this, okay?
Not because of the fact that they're the Australian police, but the cultural differences between an American wellness check and an Australian wellness check. I have so much empathy for you right now.
So, because they do their jobs is the thing, right? And somewhat responsibly.
There would be a very thorough investigation.
So they turn up. I'm in my pajamas essentially,
right.
And there may or may not have been blood, but it wasn't a lot of blood, to be clear.
Whose blood was it? Was it your blood?
That's what they asked me, and I said, yes, it's mine. Who else is doing it? So
I'm sorry, this is not funny.
No, it's hilarious. It's very funny. I mean, people on the internet already think I'm crazy. It's fine. I was 22.
Right. They're going to be so upset when they hear us laughing about you getting a wellness check and being bleeding in a nightgown, but it is a bit funny.
It's funny in retrospect. You've got to laugh.
Not in the moment. No, that's not funny. But 20 years later is a little bit
20 years
silly.
Later, it's hilarious. So they turn up and they're like, whose blood is that? And I'm like, it's mine. Come on, man. And they were like, we have to come inside your house. And I said, I really would rather that you didn't. And they said, well, we are assessing the situation and we need to come inside your house. So I was like, okay, what are you going to do? You have to say yes. They come inside. They discern that I am not imminently about to pass away. And then though, they say, you have to come to a hospital so we can get you checked out. And I said, here's the kicker, Robyn. I said, I can't do that. It's not the best time for me because tomorrow I have to get on a plane to America because I had planned.
It doesn't work with my schedule.
I had planned this entire unhinged, ill-advised to catch a predator moment the night before an early morning flight to New Orleans where I was about to spend a month with my friends. So
I'm so obsessed with young you's thought process. Like, I wish for just a moment we could go back in time and I could sit down with you and be like, hey, queen,
what's happening?
Walk me through what we're thinking
Why
here.
are you doing this? He said, you can either come with us willingly to the hospital to get checked out, or we will arrest you. So
you were like, well, could it wait till I get back from New Orleans?
So I go with them.
Can it wait? I've got a thing I've got to go to.
I go with them.
I've got to go find vampires.
I have to go find vampires in New Orleans.
Well, on a welfare check level? Okay, wait, stop. I'm setting the scene. You're in a nightgown, as you tend to. There is blood. Okay, not a lot, you said, but some blood on said nightgown. And you're sat there at 2 a.m. going, no, I can't get away check right now. I've got to go to... Yeah, I can't actually come to the welfare check. I'm meeting Armand on Tuesday.
Pissed myself. Oh my God.
Unbelievably funny. God, those cops were probably like, if we don't get her in right now, she's gonna eat all of her own blood. Oh, namaste, brother.
I go out to the car and it's not even a regular cop car. It's like one of the ones with like the like benches in the back, like
yeah, for like the paddy wagons.
It's a paddy wagon. So the front means paddy wagon. I'm texting some other guy who was like had a crush on me, and I had been stringing him along for a million years because I'm an asshole. And I was like, "Guess where I am right now? In the back of a cop car."
Oh my God.
So anyway, I tell the story.
They didn't believe me when I told them I was meeting Armand next week in New Orleans.
I tell the story to caution you all, maybe to not do that.
That was such a crazy journey that I actually forgot what started this conversation.
Ooh. And then I got out of the hospital. They didn't keep me. They were like, "You're not crazy." Amazingly, that was their conclusion.
Like, you're actually good.
And then this was the New Orleans trip where I wound up living in Maven the Fangsmith's garage in Kenner because my friends who I went to New Orleans with discerned that I had lost my mind and was acting like
why would they
fool.
That?
Why would they? Why?
What would cause them to think that?
I wound up living in this garage in Kenner, which is a suburb outside of New Orleans, with Maven, who is still my friend to this day. Wonderful man, makes fangs for a living.
That's sick.
Big part of the vampire community. He's awesome, and he like gave me a place to stay when I got like kicked out by my 2 closest friends for being a crazy person. But I wound up in a relationship with, not with Maven, with a also like 23-year-old former con from Kansas who thought he was a werewolf.
Ooh. Okay, actually, can we touch on that really quick?
Sure.
We need to bring werewolves back. Do you remember that?
I think so.
In like
it's
the early 2000s, Live Journal, werewolves were like a really big thing, you guys.
I think they're having a moment. I think there is a werewolf resurgence. I had a dream about one a while ago, which was an interesting situation. We're not going to get into that though, because I'm not going to continue to lose my mind. But
I am still reeling from you being in a fucking nightgown. I know the ones you wear. I've seen them a million times. In a nightgown,
it was very
with
Victorian.
some blood. Your words, some blood. It was yours though, so it's fine.
It was mine.
I cannot get a wellness check right now. I'm going to New Orleans to meet my boyfriend, the vampire.
The vampire Armand. It's really important. Yes.
Recent embarrassment by proxy.
Oh my God. 100%.
This will make you feel a little bit better, I think.
I don't think anything could possibly make me feel better.
It won't. It won't. But I'm trying.
Thank you.
It won't. But I'm trying. Early 2000s, live journal days, there was a guy that I never spoke to. I want to just really lay that out there. Never had a single conversation. I was like 15, 14. So I was a kid. But he was a live journal goth boy from, I want to say it was England, but I could be wrong. So don't quote me on that.
What was his live journal name? Can we find out?
I love that you think I would remember that. If I do some research, I can probably find it and send it to you. But this is like it'll take me a couple hours. Anyway, so I was totally obsessed with this guy. I wasn't even like had a crush on him. I was obsessed with like, I think it was like the cold island countries like goth scene. That's what I was obsessed with. Yeah. I don't think I had a crush on him so much as I loved the idea of that like sense of fashion and that part of the world, and that I liked the idea of that, and I wanted a guy in my life to look like that, or to dress in the similar fashion. Anyway, about 10 or 15 years ago, the guy and his friend, who I also knew from this, come up on my Instagram as like a post that had gone viral-ish, right? And I was like, why do these guys look so fucking familiar? Why do these guys look so fucking familiar? And then it hits me like 6 months later. Not even at the time. A week ago, the ex-partner of the friend of the guy I was obsessed with has gotten super into making AI pictures of herself.
Oh no.
And she's a tattooist out of Helsinki.
Okay.
And she came up on my threads a week ago, and I was like, what in the fucking world? It gave me a very Truman Show vibe, and I had a moment where I sat there in my late 30s going, why is this woman who is directly associated with a guy that I thought was cool in like 2005 coming up on my threads right now? What kind of sick fucking synchronicity is this?
It's so weird. And it makes you realize that the world is like a lot smaller than we kind of realize that it is. But also,
I mean, it's no wellness check before you go to New Orleans.
This is a good story, though, because it paints you in a normal light. You were just a young woman who liked a goth man. And who among us hasn't been a young woman who likes a goth man? Okay, we've all been there.
Okay, but I'm pretty sure that I found this guy on a live journal called like Suicide Boys or something like that.
I was on that live journal community.
Yeah, so
boys in eyeliner. Were you on boys in eyeliner?
Boys in eyeliner. So yeah, so that's where it kind of gets not normal.
I mean, what's normal for a millennial woman in this day and age? To be honest. Look at your fancy mic. I need one of those. If I'm going to continue to not a podcast and like piss myself on camera laughing too hard with people.
What could you mean by that? I think that story that you told was not funny.
No, not at all. Not humorous whatsoever.
Listen, I think that people who have a history that they have grown out of perhaps a direct self-harm phase, even if we are not depressed all the time anymore, we can laugh at these things.
And that's the thing, like, perhaps let's clarify.
If you've had privilege in your life where you've never tried to take your life or harm yourself in a way that is adjacent to taking your life, you're not allowed to laugh at that, okay? And if you did laugh at that, you're problematic.
You're a bad person.
However, I can speak in confidence that both of us are allowed to laugh at that and why that's funny.
And that's the thing, right? It's like when I did Horrible Podcast in February, I made a glib comment about like drinking your own blood is the teenage girl experience, you know?
It totally is.
People in the comments were very upset about that. Like some people,
why?
The people who knew. Like a lot of people were like,
it's fully a girlhood experience.
Yes.
It's the same girlhood experience as meeting your boyfriend Armand in New Orleans.
Girlhood is a spectrum from being forced to go with the cops to the hospital to drinking your own blood because you think you're a vampire. Okay. Some people are upset. They were like, that's not normal. I'm like, well, look, here's the thing.
No shit, it's not normal. I'm on a fucking podcast talking about how I went to meet vampires.
Right. And like,
be for real. I'm a grown adult woman who practices witchcraft. Of course it's not normal.
I'm not laughing about it because I think it's funny to like
to laugh about. If we can't laugh at ourselves, then what is the point of anything?
Be so unstable or so distressed that you're doing these things to yourself. But the thing is, this is my life.
And on top of all of that, just to kind of full circle moment this, all magic at its core has an element of silliness and playfulness. And if you are taking yourself too seriously, you're never going to have successful magic. And that I am looking at you, OTO bald men who like fucking love to critique low magicians and blah, blah, blah. Well, you live in a basement with your mom.
If you're spilling your seed onto a cracker and not laughing about it later, that something could be wrong.
Listen,
you probably should.
I don't give a fuck who you are. If you don't think cakes of light are silly, you're doing something wrong.
It's okay to laugh. I think that is a good takeaway. Like magic is not just silly, but if you can't have a little bit of
if you need to have a little bit of play.
Yeah, that's the point.
A lot of magic involves imagination, and imagination is a form of play.
And laughter, as we just experienced, my abdominal muscles have registered, is a very powerful energy. Like moving that stuff through your body is powerful. And you should be able to laugh at yourself if you're taking yourself too seriously in life generally. You gotta giggle. You gotta giggle.
It's funny. Life is funny.
Life is funny. Robyn, tell us a little bit before we round this out about you have a tarot course that you are rolling out soon.
If you guys want to listen to me have a little silly moment for 6 weeks where I'm doing a 6-week course. It's self-guided, but if you join in the first 6 weeks, which starts the week of September 21st, there will be a weekly Q&A session. If you join after, it's totally self-guided, but the Q&A will not be occurring. And it's for people who have a basic understanding of tarot, but they would like to actually have the confidence to read for others, to have a more deep dive of building their intuition and understanding the cards and how they work together in a way where it's more storytelling based than it is spread based.
Nice. That's awesome. Where can people find this? How can they purchase it?
If you go to my social media, specifically Instagram at atiredwitch.com, a tired witch on
at
Instagram.
Witch. We'll put it in the description.
Thank you. It is linked in my bio. I believe it is also on my website, tiredwitch.com. I'm really excited about it. I've been working very hard on it. It's got articles, it's got videos, it's got homework for every week.
Super exciting.
Journal prompts, you name it. Amount of information.
I have people all the time who are like, what's a good way to learn tarot? So I highly recommend that you avail yourself of Robyn's course, but also if for whatever reason you don't want to do that, Robyn does have a book also.
Magickal Tarot. That is a book that just focuses on the major arcana and utilizing the traditional symbolism, imagery, and occult understandings to redirect that for witchcraft. And it's got
Super cool book.
spells and how I would utilize it as a symbol for tarot or for witchcraft.
A very, very
Or
fun,
if you're somebody
unique book.
who wants something very digestible that is targeted for 8 to 12, but it can be for anyone. Apprentice Witch is another book I wrote.
Apprentice Witch. And also Robyn is available for readings. Robyn is available for spell work. Atiredwitch.com is where to find all that, I believe.
Shop.atiredwitch will take you directly to my website. Shop.atiredwitch.com.
And we'll put all Robyn's socials and all of the relevant information in the description. As you guys probably know at this point, I am the fool who tried to summon her ex-boyfriend back into her life and then almost got arrested. If you, for some reason, want me to help you, why?
She's very good at what she does, clearly.
I am very good at what, and I've learned since, because I'm 40 now, so it's different. celestemoth.com.
So now she'll summon the ex-boyfriend back with more time to spare than 2 weeks.
Yes, and not under those circumstances for you. But again, you're responsible for your actions afterward. Don't be me in that situation.
Yeah.
celestemott.com. I am at Celeste Mott on Instagram. I am at Celeste Moth on TikTok. I'm available for spell work, for readings. I also have a dream course that we talked about a little bit earlier coming out. It's going to launch, much like Robyn's, it's going to be recorded stuff, but also some live components. And there's no link to buy it yet, but you can follow my social media for more information. It's going to start in October 3rd. I thought I would start on Mean Girls Day. So
nice. Love that for you.
That's what we're doing there. But yeah, follow us. Thank you for being here. I hope
Thank you for having me. This has been really fun. I'm going to draw you.
What?
In a nightgown.
Oh, I hope so. That sounds fan art. I can't wait. Can you put the cops?
It's hate art.
Can you put the cops in it too, please?
Yes, absolutely.
That would be great. Thank you.
With their little checkered vests.